Does Tony Abbott have a bit of work to do? I mean, to convince people that he is a viable alternative? It seems the approval rating in this poll, while the numbers are good for the coalition, for him individually, it's fallen further than Kevin Rudd.
Well, you've got to look at all of the poll numbers, and you know, the position that the coalition is in today is a dramatic improvement on where we were at the end of last year, and Tony Abbott deserves the full credit for that. But we have a job to earn the trust of the Australian people. You will have noticed over the last 20-odd years there's been a process of de-alignment from the major political parties going on. Once upon a time, 80 or 90% of people would support the major political parties. They'd essentially vote the same way as their parents. And if someone was tired of one of the parties, they'd automatically go across to the other major party. That doesn't happen now. We have a very sophisticated electorate, and the onus is on us to earn the trust of the public, and that's what Tony Abbott is endeavouring to do.
Mark Butler, the poll in the Herald and the Age today suggests that you've got a fair bit of work to do when it comes to the mining tax. 41%, according to the Nielsen poll, support the mining tax. 49% oppose it. The mining industry's commissioned a news poll in the Australian as well that shows the numbers are even worse when you look at the marginal seats in WA and Queensland. How important is it for the government to get this message, to win this debate on the mining tax, because it seems you've got a long way to go?
Look, this is an incredibly important piece of economic reform, so it's incredibly important that we continue to explain its benefits to the broader community, and I know the Prime Minister and the Treasurer and others are committed to doing that. But as the Prime Minister has said over the last week or two, this is not something that's going to be resolved this week or next week. It's got a fair way to go yet. We're committed to continuing the process of consultation and negotiation with those constructive parts of the mining industry that are willing to come to the table and talk constructively with us. But look, this is incredibly important for the future of the nation economically, and in terms of infrastructure and our national savings, in terms of the superannuation reforms that are linked to it. So, you know, this is very important work for the Prime Minister and the Treasurer, and they're committed to continuing it.
Mitch Fifield, the coalition seems to, well, you've locked in behind the mining industry on this. Is this really the key point upon which this election will turn, in your view, or do you look at other issues like the asylum seeker debate? In the poll today, the Nielsen poll, it seems that your recent policy has been endorsed by 2/3 of those surveyed.
Well, this election will be fought on a range of issues. Labor's inability to control the borders will be one. Labor's inability to manage the budget will be another. And the mining tax looks like it's shaping up to be another significant issue. With the mining tax, one of the most astounding things, I think, is having an Australian government that is seeking to demonise a particular industry sector, an Australian government that is seeking to demonise individual business executives. That's not something we've seen in Australia before. It's not the fault of the mining industry that this government didn't consult. It's not the fault of the mining industry that this government has got the design wrong. And it's not the fault of the mining industry that this government can't actually sell and explain its tax. We're now seeing the quite extraordinary situation where the Prime Minister is paying actors in TV ads with taxpayers' money to explain a mining tax that he himself is incapable of doing. So we now have paid actors in government TV ads trying to do the job that the Prime Minister and the Treasurer should be doing.
Okay, Mitch, just one last issue I want to get both of your thoughts on. Mitch, first to you, the Greens, yesterday, the Greens leader Bob Brown expressed an interest in being a part of the leaders' debate. What do you think of that? The Greens are now at 15% support. Where do they have to hit? What sort of threshold before the Greens leader should be included as a three-way debate?
Well, I think the threshold is for a party to be included in a leaders' debate is if they're likely to be in a position where they could form a government. The Greens are nowhere near that situation. Leaders' debate should be for the leaders of those political parties who are putting themselves out as alternative prime ministers. If the Greens want to have a debate with other minor parties, then they should feel free to do that. But I don't think it's appropriate that they're part of the major leaders' debate. And also, we've seen this before. Many a time the Australian Democrats were said to be on the verge of winning a seat in the House of Representatives, was said to be on the verge of becoming a new major force in Australian politics. I think what we're seeing with the Greens is probably that again, but certainly I think they're a long way off major party status.
Mark Butler, just quickly, I think you might be on a unity ticket with Mitch Fifield there. You guys don't want to give the same opportunity that Nick Clegg got, the Liberal Democrats leader in the UK.
Well, I think Mitch is right. This is a debate for alternative Prime Ministers, and the situation in Britain was quite different. Nick Clegg led a party with several dozen members of Parliament in the lower house of Parliament in Britain, and on the polls, given the nature of the British voting system, a first-past-the-post system, Nick Clegg did have a possibility of becoming Prime Minister as long as that possibility was. So the situation is quite different. Bob Brown has never won a lower house seat, as far as I know, at a general election. He won a by-election in the south coast of New South Wales, but not at the general election, and I don't think anyone, even him, thinks that he has a vague hope of being an alternative Prime Minister, and that really is what the debates are for, to test the views of alternative Prime Ministers.
Mark Butler and Mitch Fifield, appreciate your time today, gents. Have a good week.
Thanks a lot.
You too, Kieran.
Let's preview the day on the market.